I'm never going to buy anything buffalo boar ever again. So hey there, Mike with Mountain Boys. So somewhat different video on the channel this time, but I've got to call out something that was said, and this was by Tim Sundles, the owner of Buffalo Boar Ammo. And a couple weeks ago on his YouTube channel, he went on quite the rant about how feds are stupid. Specifically, he was talking about the Forest Service in this instance. But it all came back to the fact that he admitted to violating a fire closure order on doing a pack trip up the Middle Fork of the Salmon about 10 years ago, from what he was saying. So I took a lot of exception to what he said in that video, mainly because I have the scars to prove it, that how rough and rugged that country is. And it is some of the most remote country that we have in the lower 48. I mean, you know, it's kind of bounded on the south by Salmon River, you know, go north up to the Locksaw, even a little ways past that, and then on over to the Selway Bitterroot on the Montana side, and then, you know, clear around, you know, Grangeville area and south. So we're talking the most remote piece of country that we have in the lower 48, and he was doing a pack trip in there. He violated a closure order, knowingly, willfully, and doing that, he put himself, his wife, and he could have put firefighters at risk doing that. Now, he tried to make the excuse that, you know, the fire was 40 miles away, he didn't put anyone at risk, and even if he had, he wasn't asking for anyone's help to come get him out of something. But it doesn't work that way. If firefighters know there's someone in an area that could get burned over, they're going to try to get you out of that, regardless of whether you want them to or not, want their help or not. That's what firefighters are going to do. So violating a closure order, right there, you're putting yourself, your family, and firefighters at risk doing that. Now, what he was saying about the closure too, you know, because he was saying that the fire was 40 miles away and they enacted the closure, that doesn't seem like a specific fire closure to me. It sounds more like a severity closure. And what a severity closure is when fire danger in an area is so extreme that if there's any start that happens, natural or man-made, then stuff is going to rip, not a lot is going to slow it down, and nothing's going to get in that fire's way from ripping through a piece of country. So even violating a severity closure is just as bad in my mind, because those are put in there for public safety, to where they do want to keep the public out in case something was to start, so that, again, Tim, you wouldn't be putting yourself at risk, and so you wouldn't be putting firefighters at risk to come in and try to get you out. So I took a lot of exception to that. Now, the other bottom line for this is I'm never going to buy anything buffalo boar ever again. I'm going to personally boycott buffalo boar ammunition. I'm never going to recommend it to friends or family either. Now, I've liked their ammo, especially the 220 grain hard cast for the 10 millimeter and the 147 grain hard cast for 9 millimeter. I've been a big fan of those rounds, but no more. There's other options out there on the market, especially for some of the more popular calibers. So right now I've got 200 grain Underwood hard cast running through my 10 millimeter, and I'm pretty sure they have 147 grain 9 millimeter hard cast as well that I'll switch over to. So I don't need to use buffalo bore ammo when I'm out there in the woods, and from now on I'm not going to. So I commented on his video and kind of said the same things that I just said here already, but Tim really doubled down on it. And he also, you know, came back with that crackpot notion that the federal government isn't even allowed to own public land or enforce rules on public land. I'm sorry, that has been settled Supreme Court precedent for over a century. So, and the idea that he also proposed of having that public land transferred to the states, well, by and large, the states don't have the mandate to manage for multiple use. They have the mandate to generate revenue. And in the state's mind, if more revenue can be generated by selling off some of that prime public land that they got into their possession, they would. And so thinking that the states could be the better stewards of our public lands, maybe not, but it's a chancier proposition. You know, we can have the discussion about management or mismanagement under our current system, and that's fine. You know, we have processes in place for that. But to just say that it should go back to the states, well, that's a recipe for our public lands to get sold at the auction block. It just is. So anybody who makes their living off public lands, guides, outfitters, anybody who hunts, fishes, traps, hikes, climbs, anything, you name it, on public lands, Tim's comments should concern you too. You know, you're free to vote with your dollars however you see fit, but when someone comes at me with opinions like that, that's not something that I'm ever going to support or condone. So, like I said, I am never buying anything buffalo bore again. I am not suggesting it to friends and family now, and we have other options out there on the market, and they're going to get my dollars instead of Tim. So this comment's sure to generate a lot of comments, and I'm sure that the crazies are going to come out of the the crazies are going to come out of the woodwork on this one. That's fine. They can state their opinions, but when it comes down to dollars and cents, Tim, you lost a customer. And anybody I talk to anymore, I'm not going to recommend your products. So, yeah, I might lose a few subscribers over this one. That's fine. You know, especially with the way things are going right now, we have to start drawing our lines in the sand. And this is one that I had to draw. So I'll see you next time.